35 years ago, I used to own a typography shop, and it was the largest and best typography shop in the city. What we did was we set type for magazines and newspapers and advertising and anything else that a person wanted that type set for, so it could go to the press and be printed. That was back in the days of cold type. Excuse me. That was back in the days where type was not cold type, but it was type that was produced in lead. We had linotype machines that would set the type and cast it in lead lines, and then this would be put together in a form, and then that form would be printed. We've come a long way since then, and we do all of our typesetting by computer now. I sold my business because of that. Sold it to a publisher because I could see the handwriting on the wall. But one day, while I owned this business, a young man come in, and I was standing at the counter, and he had a bunch of papers and stuff with him, and he asked me, he said, "Will you do our little newspaper for us?" It was, I don't know whether you could call it a newspaper or a magazine. It was just a small folded thing. And I was looking it over, and he said, "Now I want to tell you that we are a gay organization." And I said, "Well, that's all right. We'll do your magazine." And he had a great look of relief on his face. He said, "You know, I've been everywhere, and you're the only place in town who said that they would do this magazine for us." And I said, "Well, I'm sure disappointed in my competitors then, that they would feel like that." So we agreed on a price, and we got it, and I went back to get it typeset. I had several typesetters, several makeup people. We had an organization of about 25 or 30 people at that time. And I went back and handed it to this one guy, and he looked it over, and he said, "I really don't want to do this." He said, you know, he was a religious person, very religious. And he said, "This is for a gay organization, and I really would rather not do this." And his name was George, and I told him, "Okay, George," I said, "if you really feel that way about it, then I'll have Bob do it." And so I handed it over to Bob, and he just took off on it and started doing it. And then I told George, I said, I could have ordered you to do that, but that wouldn't have been right. I said, "But what I will want you to do is I want you to think about this for a while. I want you to read your Bible, and I want you to see if you really want to not do this for another human being." And I reminded him that Jesus said we forgive as many times as we need to forgive, and that we don't judge others. And then I went on. So this went on for a couple of months or so, and we were doing their magazine. I was reading a lot of it because I was even doing some of the typesetting on it. And they had a lot of phrases in there that I didn't understand, and so I just kept trying to understand them. And they had a phrase on there that called taking the bus to Boston. And they used that not frequently, but every once in a while. And I finally figured out that that meant that someone had died from AIDS. And I knew this was really, really bad among gays at that time. Nowadays it's pretty well under control. And so I had George come to me, and he said, I've been thinking about this a lot, and he said, I'm ready to do that if you want me to do it. And I said, sure. Sure. You can trade off with Bob. You can do it 1 month, you can do it the next. And I said, that'll be fine. And so that's the way they did. And he never mentioned anything more to me about it. So I have learned a lot about gays through just observing and reading and that stuff. And I don't understand how someone can say they're a Christian in one breath and in the other breath say that they do not accept gays, because they're not like us, you know. And there's so many people that are not like us. I mean, there's people of different nationalities, or people of different religions, and people of that. And a lot of these same people will say that about them too. They won't accept them. They won't let them in their church. They won't let them hold positions. And this is not what Jesus would have done. Not one bit. Jesus would have accepted them just like he accepted everybody else. God is love. Now, why gays are gay, I don't know. I remember I ran around with a group of boys when I was in high school, and I didn't find out till a couple of years later that one of them were gay. They acted just like anybody else to me. And so now that I have been able to study spiritual things for quite a while, I'm going to put forth a theory or a reason why that I think gays are gays. Now, you know, there's no fact to this. I can't prove this, but when we come into, we are created in the spirit world. I've said that before many times, and we come into the physical world by choice. And when we come in by choice, we can choose whether we want to be male or female, among other things. There's other things that we can choose. Well, if we don't succeed in graduating from the physical realms, in other words, we come here to learn, come here to go through all of these. There's a lot of hardship sometimes here. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of joy too. And sometimes we don't understand. We harden our heart against people, and we hate certain people, and we do stuff like that, and we don't graduate from here. Even after we die, we have to come back and try again. It's called reincarnation. And I believe reincarnation is a fact. I have kind of studied that in the spiritual world. And what I've learned is I don't think anybody gets through this life with less than at least 3 incarnations. Now, this happens to be my 59th incarnation. I'm a slow learner, evidently. But I am learning. So I'm learning to accept people and understand people and not to judge people. And I feel real good about that. I mean, that's given me a lot of peace and joy. So I think gays are as they are because if you ask any of them, any gay will tell you that when they are a very young child, they feel like that they're in the wrong body. They feel like they shouldn't be male or they shouldn't be female. So I'm going to venture a theory that says if a person incarnates as a male, say for several lifetimes, 5, 6 lifetimes, and then he decides to come in as a female for learning how it is to be a female, he comes in and he doesn't make that change. He thinks he's in the wrong body. He says, "Whoa, I've always been a male here. Now suddenly I'm female, so something's wrong." Now they don't remember about their spiritual thing and about this part coming in. So those that were primarily female and come in as a male, they feel displaced, and the same vice versa. So that's my theory as to why they feel like that. And it's not my place to judge them. It's not my place to try to change them. That's something that I can't do. No individual can do. That's up to them and their creator. So I'm just hoping that more people will understand that it's necessary, very necessary in life, to not judge others, to forgive others, and to let others be who they are. Thank you for listening to me.